Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the lead series. I'm your co-host for the day, Thomas Ayuaki, and I'm glad to have you join us as we unpack this insightful and knowledgeable topic. Now, one of the first things I can remember about being introduced to the digital freelancing space, or online work as many people know it, is that it was introduced to me as the future of work. And at that point in time, I just finished school and I was in the process of trying and failing to look for an internship that will help me with getting some job experience. So obviously, fast forward to today, on 2023, we boast of a workforce that's around 100,000 active online workers with an evaluation of around $350 million. And obviously, there have been some contributing factors like enhanced internet access, continued development of technology that's been used to be able to access these resources online, and also increased number of programs that the national government and ICT development organizations like ACWICT have been implementing in order to ensure that more women and youth actually join and thrive within this particular space. So, and joining me today are two of my colleagues who together have more than 10 years of experience working online and also manage the digital freelancing training program. So I'll let them introduce themselves and then we can move from there. So gentlemen, it's a pleasure to have you guys. So let's start by a quick introduction before we move.
Hi, thank you so much, Mr. Tom, and I'm glad to be here. My name is Barak Odhiambo. Professionally, I have background in research, linguistics, and philosophy. But into this context, I am an expert in digital freelancing, where I does not only practice online work, but I also train and I also mentor. In this episode, I'm looking forward to inspire and also to enlighten people out there.
And I am John Karanja. I'm a digital freelancer with over 7 years experience, and I've been practicing ever since 2016.
So I wanted us to kick off by taking you back to where you first heard about online work. So who introduced you to digital freelancing, and what were some of the misgivings you had at that particular point in time?
So for my case, I started in 2016. This came about after I was introduced by a friend. What happened is that we were conversing about how we spent our long holidays. And at this particular point, he mentioned that he's been working as a freelancer, more so online writing, and he had garnered around 100K. So that's something that piqued my interest.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's when I actually started just to have an understanding of it, just to understand what is this digital freelancing, what online writing. Mm-hmm. So that's when it was demystified to me at that particular time.
Oh, and this was in 2016. 2016.
Early 2016, the first semester of my year studies.
How about you, Barak?
The question is interesting. It reminds me when I first discovered the opportunities that are there as far as digital freelancing is concerned. Now, most people always look forward to having a work-life balance. To me, I was looking to having a school-life balance because as a student, I was looking for an area where I can get an extra coin, of course, to sustain myself and also to explore because I am deeply into research. Now, my research activity led me to find out what other people are also doing online. At that particular time, I came across a friend who had been practicing online work for some time. And it appeared funny to me because at that time, things were not strict the way they are now. And that was served as a disadvantage, though currently there's a lot of opportunities that we are going to unfold as time go by. Yeah. At that time, they were basically copy-pasting and forwarding to the client. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, I found it easy, but again, coping up with the situation was a bit difficult. For example, I didn't add a laptop. I also didn't add a desktop that I could rely on. Mm-hmm. But fortunately, our varsity had established a computer lab where we could go time to time to conduct research. So I took the advantage of that opportunity because as somebody who is deeply into research, I could always go there with a reason. So when I go, I take extra time to also find out how I could get an extra coin that could sustain my life.
Yeah. So at those early misgivings you heard about joining the space, because for me, for example, I was introduced to digital freelancing in 2010. And at that particular point, as I've shared earlier, I just finished school. And so there was the challenge of is this something that's too big for you to try and achieve? Because you can imagine being introduced to it for the first time. You think of it as this unachievable goal that only a few number of people can be able to succeed based on their level of education. So what were the misgivings for you? What were some of the things that you felt were discouraging a little bit as you were joining that particular space?
In my case, what happened is that this is a friend of mine from campus we've done analytical chemistry with, and he's telling me that he's doing papers, he's doing writing, he's doing online writing at home. I'm attuned to that 8 to 5 kind of work experience. I was working in a hotel. Actually, it was more than 8 hours. It was 10 hours. So being told I'm earning much less, which was a meager 6,000 for basic salary, and then a 6,000 for commissions, kind of. So 12,000 per month, and he's earning 100K in 4 months.
And you have the same skills, yeah.
No, it did not add up. So
yeah, definitely.
The first thing was I did not understand how you can earn more than I did, same period of time, same course, but you're telling me you have the freedom to go Ushago and visit your grandparents all while you're still working. So that's the first thing I did not quite understand about digital freelancing. The other, in terms of capability or rather resources, I had a laptop. I had the same time as he had, so I wouldn't say that was the hindrance. The only concept was the 8 to 5 and his freelancing aspect.
Yeah. So then what would you consider, Barak, as being that, light bulb moment? What in particular made you feel like, okay, yeah, this is something that I can be able to do? I know you've talked about the fact that you're already doing research. Yes. You're passionate about it. But in terms of now transitioning that to the digital freelancing space, what in particular made you feel as if this is a space where I can be able to exist in?
Okay, now my transition to digital freelancing was not smooth because being something new that I was also eager to try, I had self-doubt. Now, because I was working for clients that I could not see them, I was working remotely. Yeah. So these people, I was just guessing whether they could buy my trust or not. Mm-hmm. Now, to ensure that I win their trust, I could submit work that, according to me, I thought was standard. Mm-hmm. But I met this client who was pissed off with what I turned in. Of course, it was my second paper that I was handling. It was within the context of research. The client was not happy with me. But again, I said, I was just trying it. Okay. I went back. Yes. I told myself I was just trying this out, whether it can work. Then I went back to my friend to tell him what now the client had said. And he told me, look, I've come across a variety of clients. There are some who are willing to cooperate. There are some who, whatever much you could do, you can't please them. And therefore, that gave me confidence that there are different kind of clients, because earlier my first client was pleased with what I get. In fact, they gave me 8 out of 10, which was motivating to me. Yeah, now I was getting this client who was not pleased with every thing that I did. Now the encouragement that I got from my friend and of course a few adjacent friends to him gave me now the confidence to push it forward. So with the established infrastructure within the university, doing research, I get a Kickstarter now. I started venturing into it as a full-time job. Okay. Yes.
So that brings up something that's very interesting, which is, how did you then how did you manage the first 6 months of, your transition into the digital freelancing space and the lessons that you've learned specifically around dealing with clients? Yeah.
So to start us for that question, the first 6 months, as I've said, I was in college. So I had to understand a balance between going to class and doing these papers. And at this point, I had not really got my footing in. So after the introduction, I was taken to a platform, register here, do this. Yeah. So you'd find that you'd get some jobs in the wee hours of the morning, at night, at some peculiar hours. So you had to navigate how between classes, going to the library just to ensure you have the Wi-Fi, you have my computer on my back the whole day. So just to go and do the job a bit, maybe a 2-pager, 1-pager, and then complete it as such. In the terms of clients, well, that was a tricky subject because different clients identified with different requirements. Some papers required you to do this and this and this. Others required you to go over and beyond to get information, to borrow from their textbooks. So you'd find that you do a paper well today, and then the next client you interact with tells you, no, I don't want it like this, because you find challenges here and there. You do a paper for a Chinese guy who's trying to learn English. They'll tell you, I want simple English. You're in college. You don't understand what simple is to you anymore.
Yeah, definitely. Because you've been detached from it for a while. Yeah.
You're being told, make it as simple as somebody who's trying to learn English. So you're like, the paper I did well yesterday is a paper I'm being penalized for doing too well today. So the first 6 months was hectic. I'll be frank with you. It was very hectic.
And in terms of it's overburdening on your social life, how do you manage those first 6 months? Especially, you talked about being in school, working an 8 to 5 job, and then digital freelancing comes in. So how do you manage your first 6 months from a social point of view?
I don't think that there's anything to manage under social.
Yeah, you put it aside immediately.
Immediately, because after classes, maybe the last class ends at 4 or 5, you'd be accustomed to go to the grounds to maybe link up with your friends, forget about that library. So everybody considers you bookworm. Are you a bookworm, but you're struggling just to earn an extra shilling, but you're being considered a bookworm, so you lose your friends at some point.
How about you, Barak? Surely you had better luck in managing your social life.
To some extent, but of course, let me just say the first 1 month, before I even narrow down to the 6 months, they're always challenging but equally educative. What I discovered that within the context of digital freelancing, there are dynamics. Sometimes there's an efficient flow of work, but once you get the value of money, when you test the money the first time, especially when it's come to you from your toil, you want to get more. Okay, but I was just getting into the industry that these seasons, this time there's a lot of jobs, next time there are not, no type number of jobs. Okay, now it was enlightening because it gave me a drive to find out more opportunity within that particular context. And that is now how I discovered about affiliate marketing and even administrative support task. So that when there's deficit in a given area, I can always rely on a given area. For example, when there's deficit in online writing, I could venture into affiliate marketing so that my earning keeps on consistent. But again, challenges are always there for everybody who's beginning, and I was not immune to that. Now, one of the major challenges was maintaining clients, what we currently refer to as referring clients, because most clients, they will easily give you the first task, but immediately they realize that you are a newbie, they will not give you the chance next time. Okay? Yeah, so that was the main challenge that I faced, but it was also a learning and extraordinary experience. Yes.
Yeah, because even for me, when I started working online, I think in 2011, dealing with clients was one of the most difficult aspects of actually, thriving within that particular space, because things would change. You've talked of days. I personally experienced things changing in hours. I've transcribed, I've finished, I've made sure that, for example, it's in clean verbatim, but when I share it with the client, oh, no, there are some things that are missing. So when you ask, okay, do you want a full verbatim transcript? It becomes this whole argument here and there. So yeah, I think for me, just being able to deal with that and figuring out how to handle the customer interface in space, I think was something that was very, very challenging. But again, I like the fact that you guys have talked about the teething process, and the fact that as long as you persevere within that space, you can be able to actually succeed. So I don't know if you have any funny or unique stories about the clients that you're engaging with. What's that one engagement that left you like speechless at the end of it, in terms of how you're engaging with them and the work that you're doing at that point in time?
I believe the one I've said about Chinese was the one that actually took the topping. It's something that...
That's the one that introduced you to customer interfacing properly.
Yeah, because you didn't understand how you've done everything right. similar case to the previous task that you've done. But this time you're being told, tone it down, make it simple. If you can't explain it to a class 2-year-old kind of person, then it was a new experience to me. And I wouldn't say that there's any other particular task that has actually that's the one. That's the one for me.
How about you, Barak?
That question reminds me on when I started to embrace globalization and diversity. There's a client that I was working with. It was coming from the US. So he gave me some 2-pager to conduct a research and submit. When I gave the client the outcome, he gave a very funny comment that you are a dog. So to me, I didn't understand what that meant. I thought it was just maybe an abusive term or something. But when I find out, I realized that in that context, in their context, a dog means somebody who is capable of doing something interesting. So when I learned that, I said, okay, now this diversity in terms of culture, the sense of globalization started to catch up. And I now wanted to interact with many clients from various parts of the world. Yeah.
So I know we've kind of talked about or highlighted, the experience that you've had working online. But with that in mind, and also with the training experience that you guys have been able to gain, specifically around the last, I think, 3 or 4 years or so, what have you guys seen as being the main challenges that women and youth face in regards to their ability to be able to transition to the world of work?
Personally, I believe one of the greatest challenge actually aligns with their mindset. Right now, the population that is transitioning into digital freelancing, they want a quick fix. They want it now, they want it then. You train them on, let's do writing, let's do digital marketing, affiliate marketing. They want results there and then. That is not always the case. Actually, that is not the case. Yeah. So they forget the aspect of growing into the task, growing into the job, growing into the freelancing space. They demand quite exorbitant rates, which makes them, where's your history, where's your backing? Do you have a portfolio? Do you have history? How can I justify that you want $100 plus for a certain task, whereas I can't even pinpoint you in the online space? So the first challenge I'd maybe say is the mindset. They are tuned to get rich quick kind of schemes, and that does not work right now.
Okay. And maybe before we go to Barak, do you think that's something to do with the way it's been introduced to them? Because I'll be very, very honest, when it was introduced to me, even in 2010, the way that it was pitched and presented to me was that this is it. This is the future. Forget your 8 to 5, forget anything that you're engaging with. This is what's going to make you rich. So do you think a lot can be done to be able to kind of, just manage the expectations of young people? Or again, is it a question of quality of training?
I believe whoever introduces digital freelancing to them, let me say before the onset of the training, is that they sell it as this big gold mine, or rather the jackpot at the end of the rainbow. Some say, I've built my house, I've bought my car, I've done 1, 2, 3. They feel this is it. Yeah. But what they don't tell them is, how did you start? How did I start? So when you come to the training, they want it fast, they want it hard, and then towards the completion of it, they start guessing. You say that I was told this is I'm going to expect. But after the training, the trainer just the first day or in orientation, whoever has told you about this and this is the path you need to take. Now the path becomes longer, it becomes windy. Yeah. So it's all about the introduction. Yeah.
And Barak, for you, obviously being one of the training leads in this particular program, what are some of the challenges that you've seen affecting women and youth trying to transition to that?
Yeah, I will greatly support Mr. John. What he's saying is true. But there's 2 other challenges that I've observed. One is that there's a sense of self-doubt. And I always try to tell most of our trainees that whenever you get into or you go through the ACWICT digital skilling training, you are an expert. And therefore, what you need to have is basically being confident that you can deliver. But apparently, some of them have the self-doubt. So they are getting the evidence value of this particular venture but they are still afraid to get it going. Okay, so it is a challenge because it is preventing some of the beneficiaries from pursuing this fruitful venture. Another challenge is basically failing to cope with the inconsistent flow of jobs, especially due to the seasoning nature of the works. For example, some beneficiaries, some of the trainees, they always believe, and I also had this challenge when I was starting, I believe that because I'm introduced to the online freelancing, when there are a lot of jobs, okay, it is going to be that seamless throughout the year. Not knowing that we always have 3 key seasons during the year that there's a lot of jobs, okay? So most of them, they get to work within the first season, but when they get to the middle, where we now always call the low season, they are discouraged, okay? So these dynamics always create a sense of mistrust among the beneficiaries, to the extent of that some of them even don't come back to the training, or they just cut off their ambition into freelancing.
Yeah, because being part of program work, I think one of the things that we try to do as an organization is reach out to them after like a month or two. And you've had the responses, personally, in their own capacities. You've heard of them not being able to continue because they just felt tired, or they felt that this is something they can't be able to do. Or even you've talked about the high and low season ones. So I know one of the audience members would want us to ask what that time looks like. Like when you talk of high and low, what are the specific months where jobs peak and the ones where you kind of have to take a step aside and focus on other things?
Okay, that is interesting. We always have 3 seasons. There's one that begins immediately people break from the summer holiday and proceed for 4 months, especially for people who are venturing into research writing, article writing, content writing, and deep research writing. Then we always have some small break between when we are getting into May, that don't last for more than a month. Then we get into another short high season that again lasts up to July. Oh. Then after that, we have a long season up to September, when again high season peaks. Okay. Now, we always have a program called Job Readiness that we always prepare the trainee psychologically, so that they get to understand the dynamics within the online workspace. Additional to that, there's a lot of opportunities in that particular space that we always advise the beneficiary to utilize. Okay, unlike before, we always expose them to additional services that they can as well offer to cope up or to take care of the low season. Because
that's what I wanted to ask. So yes. How do you address? Because I know, from the little knowledge that I'm aware of, yes, there are high and low peaks when it comes to job opportunities, yes. But that's specific to different jobs. It's not the digital freelancing space in general. So talk to us about how you integrate different activities or different skills to be able to ensure that they manage those specific periods.
Thank you. Now, the main 3 categories, as we'll term them, are basically digital marketing, administrative support, and digital or online work. Online writing. Now, these skills, some of them are integrated in a way. For example, we never look at a skill like content creation, okay, which is deeply into digital marketing. Yeah. Now, this skill is also important when it comes to writing. For example, when we produce a blog, that's a content. It is only that now it is applying within the context of the blog. Yeah. When it comes to digital marketing, it is coming as a type of content that can be used to market a product, that can be used to promote a product. Within the administrative support category, a client would require you to develop for them a content for their own purpose. Now, we always integrate the skills that cut us across, so that when there's slow job flow within a given area, say in writing, the beneficiaries that come through our training, they can as well search for jobs in other platform. And this is why we always incorporate the sense of multiple profiles within Upwork, because Upwork enables you to have up to 3 profiles categories, so that even if you are known as a writer, you can as well bid as an admin support specialist or as a digital marketer and still win the job and work for it. Yes, so that is how we manage the dynamics in terms of job flow.
Yeah, that's a very innovative way of making sure that people work all year round. I think that's much appreciated. So within the same sort of thinking and being training leads for the Digital Skills Freelancing program here in the organization, what are some of the things you are doing in terms of models you've integrated into your training program to ensure that the number of people transitioning are a little bit high? I'm specifically interested in learning about the community of practice, which you've talked about outside the studio, as well as skills as a service. So just take us through how such models have been able to play a significant role in enhancing the number of people transitioning to the digital freelancing space.
Maybe to start on that, you've mentioned one particular model that we normally use, the skills as a service model. And what we normally insist when you get into the training is that in as much as you're getting to learn digital marketing, in as much as you're getting to learn online writing, as much as you're getting to learn admin support or any other kind of micro skill under the digital freelancing space, you can use these particular skills in your own profession. Example, somebody has done maybe in the legal fraternity, and you can get some digital freelancing aspect onto it. This individual under admin support can do legal transcription. And that's a space that is it's a niche under legal fraternity and under admin support, very particular skill. The same can be applied across other professions. So we insist that in as much as you are getting this, you don't holistically take it as a whole, rather in a cocooned environment. Take it to see how much you can diversify based on where you are in your path, in your professional path. That's more or less the skills as a service. Maybe my colleague can add on to that.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. John, and I agree with you. Now, this is now what informs our product as digital skilling. Besides the training, we also have mentorship, which is basically focusing on helping the beneficiaries know some of the mistakes that they can easily make as newbies and also how to avoid them. Okay, so in this particular environment, we always bring on board mentors. Some of them were alumni of this particular organization. Some of them are people known within the freelancing context to also talk about tips, okay? Because you get somebody comes to the industry, they basically know, based on the evidences that they see, they basically know it as something that you need to work on a given task, of course remotely, submit, you get paid, okay? But again, there are additional tips that can always keep you going. So this is now where the experts comes in. How you can address a given, of course, projectable challenge that you could face as a freelancer, and even how you can turn in a quality paper. So this, the mentors always bring something like working with a mock client. Okay. So they jointly approach a given task from both technical and even soft side of view, so that the newbies get a clear picture of what this is. Other than that, there's the aspect of skills as a service, where we always instill the sense of offering some of the valuable skills that beneficiaries have in form of service, because companies need them, clients need them, but you can get somebody as a very valuable skill, but they don't know how they can package this skill or how they can market this skill to create value for themselves and also to the client. Yes. Additionally, we have the aspect of a community of practice, which is also part of our product, where we now have an umbrella of newbies, trainees, master trainers like Mr. John is within that particular platform. We also have mentors. So this is now where we always bring opportunities, discussions, futuristic view of the industry, and any other challenge that somebody could face.
So any noticeable change you are seeing with the beneficiaries that you engage with? I know you're in Turkana 2 months ago, and you are able to successfully train them on digital freelancing. So what are some of the small things you've seen change, especially when it comes to their attitude towards digital freelancing?
So in Turkana, the girls there, we noticed one striking thing was that they got to accept that they can work remotely. They got to acknowledge that that they don't need to be into confines of 8 to 5 and their business environment where they get to be employed, they can actually use their mobile devices. We've seen some of them even go for lipa-polepole kind of devices just to have that smartphone, that small computer on your palm, the palm of your hand, to just log in into different platforms, seek out jobs, seek out opportunities, just to get an extra shilling as opposed to what they are accustomed to. So that's the first thing was all about mindset, and it translated to how they now utilize the tools that the information, the skills to get tools to utilize them to be digital freelancers.
Okay, how about you, Barak? What are some of the things you noticed as a
Yeah,
digital
that's
freelancer?
true. And I'm pleased that I was engaged in the Turkana project. Getting the girls get a breakthrough within the digital freelancing context is always appealing to me because I've also gone through the transitioning process. Now, one thing that I noticed is that the girls have realized the value of digital freelancing and what it can bring to them, and most of them are actually coming on board because when you are there, we unpacked a lot of opportunities. There are some who are realizing entrepreneurial opportunities. For example, that lady from Turkana called Victoria Corio, she's now training on another digital freelancing program with a different organization using the skills that we impact on them. Now,
so she's training other people.
She's come up with a sort of a consultant company where she's offering training services. So that one is appealing to me. Another thing that I've noticed is that others are also getting into digital freelancing, component like digital marketing, admin support, and all that and that. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of them coming to digital freelancing. They're trying to see the value that it has, and they've now made a decision now to come forward.
Because if I'm being honest, I've worked in similar environments. There's some time we spent in West Pokot, I believe between 2015 and 2018. And I think that the biggest impact, as you guys have alluded to earlier in your conversation, the biggest impact is the attitude change. The fact that they are seeing value to the point where they are willing to invest in a phone, tablet, or laptop to be able to begin. Yeah, so I think that's something that I've always marveled at. Especially, I know when you guys went to Turkana first, somebody was telling me about the weather being very, very unfriendly. How many shirts did you have to change in a day, John?
Personally, I usually wear vests.
Oh, okay.
I did not wear vests. That was the first thing.
Yeah.
And it all changed. To go to your room, just strip, just to get in your shorts, in a vest now. It's hectic. The weather it's harsh. Let me say harsh.
Yeah, because it was for Pokot, I used to carry like 3 or 4 shirts. So I would train. I had like 3 sessions a day. So I would train, go change, then come back and then train again. Yeah. So
you're privileged to have shirts.
Yeah, it wasn't privilege. It was an issue of desperation because at that particular point, and that's the thing about traveling to those sites that I've learned, is that you kind of have to change your dress code a little bit, because here in Nairobi you're used to heavy stuff, very heavy shirts, a jacket, a sweater and stuff. So when you go there thinking that you're going to essentially dress the same way that you do in Nairobi, you'll be very, very shocked. By the time it gets to like 11, I'm sure for you guys, you're wondering, hey, na sasa hii. So if I can shift your focus a little bit to the bigger picture. So what do you guys see as being some of the more market relevant job opportunities for Kenyans today? Because I know there are so many different young people trying to figure out how to join this particular space, but because of lack of knowledge and insight on what jobs are relevant and what can be able to earn them money in the quickest form and fashion, I'm sure that's something that they will want to know. So what are some of the jobs that are relevant now, and how do you see that evolving over the next 5 to 10 years?
Current relevant jobs. I'm looking at the current offerings we have here at ACWICT and Digital Freelancing, and I want to champion for maybe online writing to start off. Right now, we need content. And in the next few years, all organizations will have a digital print, will transition into an online space, will have websites, will have delivery stores, they will have to interact with people in the online spaces before they transition them to physical, to the brick and mortar stores. So for these organizations in the online spaces, they need content. And in the case of online writing, as Mr. Barak had mentioned, that script you may write in as an article, maybe another script where you can use it for digital marketing. You want to see these organizations, we're going to see these organizations sending campaign emails just to tell people of a new product, a new service. And you want that person who's doing online writing to write that script about this new product, this new service, and use it in the digital marketing space. So in terms of writing, that's a space that needs a lot of people to just tap into it. My colleague can mention something to do with digital marketing or maybe admin.
Yeah, you are right. Yesterday, I was having a look at the expert from China, Jack Ma, and he was saying that some of the valuable skills that he would really advocate for and see growing, things to do with web development, mobile app development, and so on and so forth. So that one made me to have a look at the broader picture of the digital freelancing field. And I realized that some of the key skills that are going to thrive starting from this year are basically digital marketing, specifically search engine optimization, and also website development, digital online writing, and even some elements of the admin support task. The reasons why I am championing for seeing digital marketing being one of the critical skills is because based on the recent update by Upwork, they're saying that about 50% of companies have transitioned into the online space. So looking forward, we are seeing about 86% coming to the digital space within the next 10 or so years. So these are more opportunity for freelancers, okay? These are more opportunity for freelancers, and therefore we're looking forward to seeing a significant growth in the context of digital freelancing.
Yeah, so if we can just make one point clear, when we talk of transition into the online space, this means that they're looking to now market their products and services online.
Sure, they are looking for people to work on their task remotely. Other companies are also looking for people to market their services, to market their products, just the same way John has said. And basically, that online presence is key to most of the organization. There's always one thing that a company will always want to market. And that is now where digital skills comes in.
Okay.
I would like to add in something. Still on the same question, we are looking at 5 to 10 years to come. And we are transitioning into a gig economy. And more organizations are more attuned to outsource their tasks. That's as you just mentioned, remote work. They are more attuned to source out regardless of whichever job they want. They want somebody to do analytics, they'll source somebody overseas to do the analytics for them. They just write a contract and an NDA and then they're in business. So the transition into the gig economy is going to see that we need more freelancers. Regardless of the skills that they identify with, there's always a gig job for them to do the online space.
Yeah. So then the question becomes, what can digital freelancers, especially here in Kenya, do to prepare for that environment?
I'd want to say the very first thing is skill up. Digital freelancers should continuously skill up. It doesn't mean that you are going to be that online writer. It doesn't mean you're going to be only that digital marketer or that admin support personnel. Skill up and learn another skill and maybe look at how it can intertwine. I'm looking at an individual who's maybe may skill up and do a different course, maybe data science or something, or analytics. They may become a data journalist because they identify with online writing practices or other skills, and then they combine with a new skill that they've learned over practice just to be a journalist to read the data and give a narrative about it, give a story about it. So the more you get to improve or rather to grow in your niche, the more you're going to position yourself in a greater position, greater space actually. Thank you. Where you can impact your earning, you can triple your earning, you can quadruple your earning, and more in that space.
Okay, how about you, Barak?
Yeah, that's true. Basically looking forward to capture more skills and doing a lot of research, keeping in pace with the current demands within the market, and most importantly, join our training. Because our training is full-fledged, we are going to take you through the training, the normal training. After that, we are going to take you through the mentorship and also walk with the journey with you. Yes, so skilling up, doing a lot of research, and being consistent. Key.
Can I add something once more? Sorry. I'm looking at a space whereby the more you get into the space, the more you interact with more clients, the more you get more jobs. I'm looking at a situation whereby you'd embrace other freelancers, put them under one roof, maybe create a BPO business, I'm looking for the term, prospecting.
Business processing outsourcing.
Yes, thank you, that's the term. So in that space, you may find that I may be good in writing, you may be good in digital marketing, but there's this task that requires two of us to work together. Other than I missing the chance, I may outsource some of the work to you, then bid competitively just to make sure we grow our business. So if freelancers can just acknowledge that they have a friend who does 1 and 2 or 3, they can always come back together and see how they can create an entity. Even on Upwork, there's that provision. You can create an account where you can now bring in other freelancers just to offer different services for a certain project.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about BPOs is that it puts you in a position to be able to earn massive contracts compared to what you do as an individual.
Sure.
So in your own experience, are you seeing the growth of BPOs in Kenya? Are they things that are beginning to show up within the digital freelancing space? Or do you still think that there's a lot that can be done to be able to encourage more inclusivity within now the digital freelancing space?
What I've noticed so far is that once you take on a path, maybe let's say writing digital marketing or admin, and you get to a point that maybe you want to get more jobs, you create a BPO in your own way just to seclude or rather to distance yourself a bit so that maybe the broker, let me use the broker kind of narrative. You just distance yourself to give other people the job. It's not something that has been fully adopted, but it's something that people are trying to understand. For those who have, they acknowledge that they can always get peers at the same level just to get on a massive contract. But for those who maybe are just trying to understand it, they do it just to outsource their tasks to other
so the synergy yet hasn't been sorted out. True. It's more to do with, I have this job and I need to give it to 3 or 4 people so that it can be done in good time.
Okay,
so it seems that there's still quite a lot that we need to do within that space. But I love the idea of developing peer-to-peer BPOs, because I think if you can put 10 or 15 digital freelancers in a position to secure bigger contracts, I think that's how you kind of expedite the growth process, especially for young people who are looking to gain experience. Before we move into the final segment, mainly dealing with government, I wanted us to talk about something that's a little bit controversial, but very, very important, especially for upcoming freelancers: academic writing. What's your thoughts on how it has gripped Kenyan digital freelancers, and how we can be able to, in our own small way, mitigate some of the issues that come with that?
Okay, thank you for that question. First and foremost, I do acknowledge it's controversial. And in this setup, I'd like maybe to start by saying that academic writing can be seen in different lenses. But one particular lens that actually does not sit well with the narrative of it being a digital freelancing space that can can make somebody thrive is the ethics about it. You find that academic writing is more or less contractual cheating, where a student, or rather, let me say a student, in a tertiary institution or any other kind of institution, contracts an individual, a freelancer, to undertake an assignment, to undertake a homework, to undertake a piece of writing on their stead. So you find that this brings the issue of dishonesty in academics. It brings the issue of plagiarism. I'm impersonating an individual to undertake a task just for the sake of a bit, maybe some few coins here and there. But for the ethical part of it, it's not something that does not actually sit well in the digital freelancing space.
Mm-hmm. So my question, if I can just add a little bit more, is at what point is it considered as cheating, because I look at online research, for example, as an opportunity. If I was given a job or if I was given an opportunity to work on something that's to do with the research, that will assist in providing a specific output. For example, somebody wants to learn about the number of women in Kenya who have undergone successful training and transitioned into job placement. Would I consider that cheating because maybe said organization or individual doesn't want to go through all of that research and just wants to focus on the solution? Or how does that work? Because for me, I think where I get stuck is where online research ends and where issues to do with plagiarism come in, especially when people are doing tests or assignments.
Okay, I see where you're going with that question. And as I've said, the issue of doing work for somebody in their stead, the output of this paper, of this piece of writing, is for scholarly progression in some cases. You find I'm supposed to do an assignment, I'm supposed to do a piece of homework, I'm supposed to do some form of writing
for attached to you as an individual.
As a student or maybe from any institution. It has been tasked to me. However, I'll give somebody that work to do it for me so that I can get academic mileage from maybe the instructor, the lecturer, or whoever is trying to examine my progress in my academic progression. So that's where the aspect of academic writing comes to be the ethical issues around it. For the research component, is more or less you're propagating information. You are seeking information from a different or rather already contextualized information just to propagate a narrative.
Oh, okay.
For example, you have the data, you've said you have information or rather statistics or rather analytics. You are trying to convert it into information that can be absorbed by a different individual. That is not the contractual cheating I'm talking about. This is the contractual cheating I'm talking about, and academic is where you are doing homework or other assignments instead of another person.
And Barak, how do we, as a teaching fraternity, how do we move away women and youth from that particular space and focus on the more productive aspects of digital freelancing?
Okay, now, just to build on John's point, the aspect of academic writing, it has raised eyebrows, basically because of the misunderstanding that is revolving around it. Some people see it as a way of dishonesty. Of course, the issues of plagiarism, doing an academic assignment to for other people, for certifications, which as an organization and also as the training for that fraternity, we also don't encourage. But I want us to have a look at it in this way, okay? At the end of the day, we are supposed to be building on the existing literature. We're supposed to be championing research time and time, basically based on the issues that the world is facing. Now, we introduce beneficiaries to the aspect of research, basically because they need this. There are companies, even if you go to an online platform like Upwork, there are individual companies, clients who are offering purely research work for people to conduct research, come up with findings, basically to lead to a given aspect of the literature. Taking the trainees out of this, we can't really take the students out of this because they are part of the research component. And basically that is why they're supposed to be championing for research solutions. Yes.
So are you saying that we can't move students away from academic writing, or are we saying that the idea or rather the objective is to channel them to a more productive output, which online research now comes in? Because I think that's where we need to come out clearly.
Yes, the strategy is to basically clear the misunderstanding around research writing as a whole. Basically focusing on the positive aspect of it. If it is done to improve literature, well and good. If it is done to channel innovation and more discoveries, well and good. And basically that is where our stance is. Yes.
Yeah, because I'll be very honest here. I think there's a tendency to hide academic writing behind online research. And whether it's accurate or not, again, you've talked about the narrative and how it quickly, develops and generates, especially within the online community. So I think definitely creating clear distinctions between online research and academic writing is very, very important. And with that now encouraging more and more people to go into online research instead of of academic writing, I think is very key, because let's be very honest, I know the economic value that it's bringing to digital freelancers, especially the ones who are in campus. But the problem is the legal side of things. Because I think there's a tendency of hiding academic writing behind online research. And what will be important for us moving forward as a fraternity is definitely creating clear distinctions between those two, and then focusing on directing women and youth we engage with towards a more protective way of working online. And that's why I think the online research comes in. So probably figuring out how that's going to be done, because let's be very honest, there's a lot of money that's being thrown around to academic writing, and shifting that mentality to me is where the challenge comes in. But probably having champions such as yourself, who I'm sure you've experienced it at different points. I know we had a discussion outside the studio around your early experiences and how you evolved from that particular space. I think that's going to be very, very important. So finally, we've seen national government make inroads in, requiring digital freelancers and content developers alike to pay tax. So what are your thoughts on that? And how else do you think the government can be able to support the development of the digital freelancing space?
To start off, I believe that the push by the government to invoke or rather apply taxes in terms of digital freelancing is quite ideal. I believe as a nation we need to progress, and this is a very lucrative industry, as you mentioned, as you're starting off. It's 350 million, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, the evaluation, yeah.
So if that means that the government gets a pinch of that amount just to grow as a government, that is quite commendable. At the same time, we should also now look at it as how can it benefit us as freelancers. In as much as we want to give back to the government, how can we get back something in return? Just a way of propagating the industry, making it more lucrative to other startup digital freelancers. So one key thing I would like maybe to mention is tax incentives. We talked about the BPOs. How do we set up these organizations, these entities, because there'll be organizations or other businesses in their own capacity, where a freelancer can now bring on board other freelancers to just pick on milestones or other great projects. So the government should look into having tax incentives to assist these champions who are bringing up these BPOs, to facilitate them, just to ensure it goes on smoothly. They are not harassed. They can create the business as an entity that is recognized under the law, and it still propagates towards progression or other. Secondly, you can also look at it from the issue of financing. Getting finance just to even get a computer, just going to an institution just to even get a loan, needs to be acknowledged under law that this is also another business or rather another entity that can actually can stand on its own, not getting individuals to get collateral from all over the place just to safeguard 100,000 loan just to procure some 2 computers to set up a station somewhere. So that's my take, those 2 points only.
Yeah, and just before we go to Barak, because you've made a point that to me I think needs to be highlighted more, and that's the fact that you can actually encourage more and more experienced freelancers to be able to create BPOs, and with that, because I'm assuming the tax incentives will be based on the size of the BPO, how many young people am I taking in, and how is that then translating into the tax breaks that I might get. So that seems like a very good idea, and I'm hoping that maybe whoever is listening gets an opportunity to figure out how that works, because that's how you beat two birds with one stone. You make sure that you're creating employment on one side, while at the same time saving the little money that you get from some of these big contracts. So Barak, on your end, what do you think the government can be able to do to increase support to the digital freelancing space?
Sure. The government has a lot in their capacity to do, basically revolving around policies. One of the ways in which they can help the young women and youth who are basically gaining interest into joining freelancing is coming up with the policies that ensure that there's no chance for continuity in terms of scams, because some of the people who come on board as freelancers, they work for companies who are reliable, but again, one or two things can happen. Their contracts are being breached to the extent that they are not paid part of the money that they had worked for. So I think the government can come up with a policy that regulate the system so that can as well settle the disputes that always arise. The policies can also ensure that the digital freelancers that are within the Kenyan space are legitimate, so that cases of scams don't arise again. Another way in which the government can support, because we've seen the value that digital freelancing has into the economy, they can support organizations that are championing skilling of young women and youth. For example, ACWICT, basically by ensuring that there are clear frameworks and assistance that can guide them. So besides relying on the digital skilling programs that are within the government space, they can as well support non-profitable organizations that also help in skilling the young women and youth. Yeah.
I think that can work. I think that the other thing that they should also look at is just being able to connect directly to some of these service providers. I think, John, you are a beneficiary of the Ajira program. So one of the things that worked really, really well is that we actually got some funding and program support from Upwork and Rockefeller to be able to make it happen. So maybe also, encouraging the government to try and reach out to these people at partnership level and see how they can be able to, outside changing the narrative around digital freelancers in Kenya, also provide direct linkages to some of these BPOs. I think that's something that can be able to work. So thank you very much. This has been a very comprehensive discussion, and I know there are FAQs that we are going to be addressing in a few minutes' time, because our colleague Lucy was able to pick a few questions from some of our staff who are parents, brothers and sisters who are interested in joining our programs. But maybe before we go into that, was there a call to action, a specific call to action that you can be able to provide for us, being a digital freelancer and an instructor here in ACWICT? What's the one thing that you'd want people to leave with after listening to this particular episode?
The call to action I'd like to say is that approach digital freelancing with a clear mindset, embrace it holistically, trust the process, and get the training you deserve, the hand-holding you deserve, the mentorship you deserve, just to excel in this space. At ACWICT, we offer all that, and that's something that you need to really focus on, and rather just employ and tap into.
Yeah. Baraka, how about you?
Yes. Now, my call to action button is basically to encourage the young women and youth who would like to try digital freelancing. This is a field that has been tested and has been evidence-placed, and we can see the value that it has. Now, in terms of approach, what works is basically understanding what the market wants. So when you understand the needs of the clients, the needs of the organizations that are within the digital freelancing space, you are going to get a breakthrough.
So thank you very much, everybody, for taking the time to listen to this particular episode. It's been a fun and very informative time getting to chat with my colleagues, Mr. Barak Odhiambo and John Karanza. And, for more episodes where we get to break down, amazing tech and how it's specifically impacting the socioeconomic balance, subscribe to our podcast on the ACWICT Lead Series channel, as well as our social media handles at ACWICT on all social media platforms. And hopefully we can be able to share more and more as we continue to chat through this journey that's ICT for development. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.